I would like to ask you a question, kind of on an unrelated topic, but since we first met you, like I remember when we first met you, you were just kind of getting started, you were kind of getting your foot in the door, and now you're working with major brands, you're doing like big campaigns, you're doing, a lot of things that takes people years to do, and I guess my question is like, what have been your biggest lessons over the last year that you walked away with that you're like, this is what I can say I've learned and then what I've grown from in the last year?
I think, because me and Jeff have talked about this too, because, now everybody knows us, and, like, everybody, like, we're genuinely friends with people.
Yeah.
Not just, like, oh, that's the blogger or whatever. But I think it's really who we got to know. We got to know the right people at the right time, and those people have really helped us and told us the right things to do instead of leading us in a completely other direction. And, like, the people that we've gotten to know have told us this is what, find your worth and fight for it. And if you don't know your worth, you're kind of just like floating out there.
Well, a lot of people will say, and have been saying for years, that, the blogosphere is too saturated. You can't make a living on it anymore. That's not possible. And here you are. You're very young. You're relatively new. Your particular topic is the mommy sphere, which is incredibly saturated. And you're making a success of it. You and Jeff, this is what you do for a living.
We live off of this. And whenever I tell people that, they're like, what? Like, and I remember first starting out, somebody who told me, they were like, there's a lot of bloggers, like, why? It's just going to be a hobby, right? Like, you guys aren't going to do anything with it. It's just going to be on the side. Like, you should go back to school. You should, like, find a new job. And, like, there was a lot of that. Like, and then I would read articles that said blogging is dead. And, like, you're not going to make a living off of it. And look at where we are now, know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a good thing you bring that up because there's a lot of naysayers out there that talk to us. And me and Juan, besides our company that we run with Sandra, we also live off of blogging. It still makes the cut. Like, sometimes I think it's still there. It's still thriving. There is no reason.
I actually think it's just like starting back up again. Like, I think people are actually finding value in influencers again.
Because there's this blogging thing that we're doing. It's not being taught in universities.
Yeah, it's not.
So it's hard to explain. I think you're getting hands-on experience.
My mom just barely, she was like, I can't believe I told you no, and that it was a hobby, and, like, I'm so proud of you. You guys are actually doing stuff.
Well, my nieces and nephews, let me see if I understand this. They invited you to the concert, and they paid you to go?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. And it's like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
That's the next question. How do I do that?
My sisters are like, how come you don't do makeup so we can get all the free makeup and we can get the PR packages? I'm like, I can't do makeup. Like, you guys do it. And they're like, oh no.
They don't want to do the work.
Well,
they want to get the freebies.
They see the work that goes into it. And
they do see the background.
Yeah, they do. They, oh my God. They're like, I don't even know how you guys are still together if you guys argue all the time. Like, it's not like we love each other, guys. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we love each other. It's just like.
And having said that, I think it's time to bring Jeff in, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I'll go get him.
Yeah, let's go see. I'm going to put this on pause. So, we've just brought Jeff in. And apparently, he didn't know what we were talking about.
Wrong. Okay.
So, when Ashley and I went to these two different blogging conferences with you and Juan and a bunch of other people, and we kept seeing people asking her, she'd introduce herself, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, you're Jeff's wife." And we came up with the topic that I keep seeing this happen in some industries where there are more women than men, that men tend to get more recognition than women do.
Maybe they just stand out because
They
they're
stand
not
out.
the norm, or they're more.
And so it's like, again, not saying that you're not great, because you are. You're really good at what you do. The two of you do wonderful work. The three of us always showcase the two of you as what you can do as a new blogger and as a new influencer in relatively little time. And yes, if in case you hear that the third voice there is Camila, who is chiming in, who is sitting in with us as well. And so the topic that was Juan made the mention that we really needed to bring you in, so you had a chance to talk a little bit
to defend yourself.
I was sticking up for you. I was sticking up for you.
We were not talking smack about you at all, okay?
Sure.
But for example, the two of you working as a couple, you're a business together. Each of you has your own particular brand. Why don't you tell a little bit about how your two brands differ? Are they different? Are they the same?
The markets are very, very different. Well, first of all, she's a mommy blogger. I'm a daddy blogger. So, there's a large portion of the areas that are very alike, like parenting and style. But then I branch off into lifestyle. She does a little of that, but then she also does food and more recipe, a little more cultural. So that's where she starts branching out, and that's like a big market too. But I usually just tend more to like family style and lifestyle, and then she's a little more broad. I, however, has started doing more content in Spanish too.
Really?
Good.
So
I branched out in that area as well. So that's the main differences between our blogs.
So you have very distinct and different audiences and different brands that work with you.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so here's the $1 million question. Do you think you get more when you're out and about, when you're like meeting people, do you think you get more, you're more memorable than she is because you are a male in a female industry, basically?
I believe so.
Juan,
yes.
You see? There you go.
Because it's fun, as you guys mentioned, for almost every event that we go to, it's like, oh, you're Jeff's wife, or oh, how's your wife doing? But then I had to kind of remind him, oh yeah, she's doing good with her blog and social media.
Well,
her
that's
branding.
a good thing about Jeff. He does sometimes. He does. Oh my wife.
I'm a very forgetful person.
The two of you are really a team. One of the great things, Juan and Angelica, one of the things that I always tell people is they're a unit. Like, they both are moving in the same direction. That's what I see with the two of you. I have a lot of married friends. Most of them don't work in the same industry. Mm-hmm. But even for the few that do, like they both work, they have family, they have kids. It's not as common to see them as a unit as you would think. And the fact that the two of you work so closely together to where the assumption would be you would really get on each other's nerves after a while.
You're right.
You would be correct. That's
You do, but there's like a beauty of it too, because we get to do everything as a family together.
Yeah, I just mentioned it, and I mentioned this actually quite often to a lot of people when we go out networking, that it's very unique, and it's a very cool experience to be able to work with your partner, your wife, in the same industry. And it's just like, one, we get all of our work and our networking done, but we also do it together as a family. So it's like we don't spend time away from each other while we're doing work. So we work and live right then and there. So it's very unique. It's interesting and fun.
I think in the beginning, I saw it as inevitable that we would both start blogging, mainly because I would take him to events, and I knew...
Well, she started first, 6 months before I did, yeah. And
I would take him to events, and he wasn't a blogger yet, and I knew that he was a lot better at, like, talking to people he didn't know, so I'd be like, Jeff, go introduce me to this person,
I was the icebreaker, yo.
Yeah, he was my icebreaker, and because I knew that was his strength and it wasn't mine. So I would say, like, hey, go make friends with that person, and then I'll, like, kind of follow your lead.
Then she'll just bump me out the way.
Go talk to pretty much.
That lends itself to, Juan earlier was saying, is Jeff more memorable because he's a guy, or is it because of his personality? Because you are more outgoing than Ashley.
And I
think that's a better question.
Has a lot to do with
you
it.
Think you honestly, do you honestly believe it has to? Because my theory was this, Jeff, and it's not to take your credit away from you, because you are very you are very social, and you are very out there, and you are very spoken, right, Camila? You agree? And and my theory was that because you are in a space where there is a lot of women, you tend to stand out more than, because I believe the same thing about Juan. Juan tends to stand out more than I do when we're in a space around women. I mean, do you which one do you think it is? Do you think it's because of your personality, or do you think because you're in like the women atmosphere?
I think the main thing here is that I'm a guy, but I think my personality stands out, and then it always helps, depending. Like, it's easier to remember someone depending on how you make them feel or how they made you feel, So I feel like personality has a big part in that. But I think the main thing is that we're guys. And I think in Houston, for a fact, I know there's less than 15, probably less than 10 influencers or bloggers. And I think that's in a industry that's dominated by women, in all areas. We're like the unicorns,
Yeah.
We're like, oh look, there's one right there.
Yeah, and I play around with that too. But I think I'm gonna stick with my original statement. I think you guys have Jeff, you have a great personality. My husband is more reserved, but yet he's still more memorable.
I mean, on a national scale, there aren't that many guys either. So
No.
I mean,
You're of maybe like 5 or 10 that I can think of nationally.
Yeah, and I can see that for a lot of campaigns, a lot of work that I've done has been specifically because we're looking for guys, and it's like, here you're one of the guys that we know, so this is the work that we want you to do, and I've benefited from that. Yeah. But going back to what you were saying about working together, like last night, Jeff and Ashley and Angelica and I were all at an event together, and I thought it was interesting that, there were so many couples there, who, and I told Angelica after we left, I was like, it was kind of interesting that there was a lot of couples there that were either they were blogging couples, or they were just, where the husband was kind of like the Instagram husband.
Okay.
Because at one point the fashion show was happening, and you saw all the husbands were standing with their wife's
Explain that,
camera.
though. Explain what you mean by the Instagram husband, for those who don't know what that means.
It's what I don't have. It's the husband that husband that takes the pictures and that kind of puts up with it.
No, but there were all the husbands were standing like on the side where the runway, because a lot of their wives were the models. And so they were walking through, and the guys were all holding the cameras, filming the women, and just getting general video B-roll.
Mm-hmm.
Because they make us.
Well, Jeff does it on his own because he has videos.
Can you take after this, please, Juan? Can you take notes? Where's your notepad? You love to carry that around, because I can't get Juan to he won't take my picture to save my life. Like, I can't, even if it's on his phone, even if it's it's on
that's
anything.
on a whole different topic, because we work together, but there's so many struggles. She has a different vision for her pictures and her Instagram feed and social media. I have a different view. So when we're taking my pictures, I'm like, I don't want them like that. And then vice versa, same with her. So I think for blogging couples, and we've discussed this with you guys and other couples too, and I think it's the same all across the board. It's a very common thing.
I think the thing that I've heard and I was watching some YouTube couples that vlog together, and the thing that they were saying there that I thought was interesting is you have to know your role and stick to your role.
Stay in your
Let
lane.
him finish his thought.
No.
He did not mean that the way you heard it.
I swear I did. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That happens in this show a
in
lot.
a professional environment, you have to know your role. If you're the creative and he's the business guy, then let him manage the business aspect, and you manage the creative portion.
I agree with Camila. You speak nonsense.
Because generally that's for us. That's the way it works. Generally, I manage all the business aspect. If there's some negotiating or business contracts that take place, I manage all of that. And then when it comes to the creative, I'm like, okay, here you go. This is what needs to happen. You make it happen. And then Angelica takes over and she makes it happen.
I agree with Juan. Everyone, it's almost the same as in a relationship. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, and whoever is better at that, they kind of become responsible over that area or role. I think that, but we're still responsible for our own things, of course. But everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. I agree with Juan on that.
All right, I'm gonna give it up. I really am. But another thing that we were mentioning, that we were talking about when it came to when it became to in a saturated industry, is that do you guys ever I wonder if this happens to you, because for a really long time I had this complex, right? And I used to get not mad, but I used to get a little like
Frustrated?
No, FOMO, your fear of missing out of the things that my husband was doing, maybe even to say like maybe a little jealous. And I was like, I don't like you right now. Or I don't like you today,
Well, you can be frustrated by something happening without being jealous or being envious of someone for the fact that it happened. And, when we were talking earlier, when you were not in the room, Jeff, we were talking earlier with Ashley about the fact that she's very proud of all of your achievements. That doesn't take away from the fact that when people go, oh, you're Jeff's wife. She's like, wait a minute. I have my own blog. I've got my own brand. I've worked really hard at it. Why am I not just Ashley?
Yeah.
I think you're asking the wrong person.
No. Well, and I have the situation where I'm not part of a married couple, so I don't have to deal with this at all. So I get to be the outside observer, stirring the pot a little, going, let's see what happens now.
But do you guys ever like experience that where y'all kind of do, maybe there is a little competition, and is it healthy competition for you guys?
I think it's healthy competition.
Yeah?
I think.
Yeah, I mean,
like we do Instagram numbers, like we do compare.
it's not fair. She started way before I did. But we do friendly competition like that. It's just friendly, like you're pushing each other, and hey, like don't slack off, just keep going. We have our goals. We kind of keep each other in check, and what we have to do throughout the day, the week, and
there are times where, like, since I did teach Jeff most of what he knows, or all, but there are times where I get frustrated. I'm like, dang it, Jeff, like I taught this to myself. Why can't you teach yourself?
Okay, so it's more like because Juan is unwilling to learn something. So when he said know your role, like he literally meant it. Because so there's times where if there's pictures due,
like I don't want to deal with this, you do it.
Yeah, he'll be like, nope, there's pictures, I'm not touching it. You need to do it. Angelica, we have a blog post. It's food. You need to figure this out. I think one time we weren't talking, and a lot of conversations start like that. But there was a time that we weren't talking, and then all of a sudden, he comes to me and he's like, I need to take this picture, and I need it now. I need it like 10 minutes ago. So I get my stuff together, take the picture, and then I give it to Juan, and he's like, how did you do that? He's like, how did you do that? I was like, because you kind of just have that. You know what I mean? Like it's just in the back of your mind.
So this is what happens when you have the third party who can't.
Yeah, she's
done. She's like, I'm done. Where's the playground here?
Where is the exit? Mom, the exit. We need the exit. So
yeah. So what we're doing is, both of you are married couples. You work together. You run a business together. Let's step away from the competing with each other in a point. Talk about, what you've learned about working together that maybe you can tell other people who are considering doing this.
Patience.
Oh,
patience is key, everybody.
Good. Yeah, we don't do that. We don't practice it often.
Patience?
No, we don't practice that often. I'm going to be really honest. Sometimes we tend to work so long together that it should already be like it should come natural to us. We tend to forget that. But one of the things that I do recommend for if you're in this for the long haul, I recommend that you not so much patience, but you just you understand each other now, and you're going to accept the way that is. And move forward and move on fast. Yeah.
Like, don't try to make your partner change.
Yeah. You move on. You have to learn from each other, and you move on fast. Otherwise, you're going to be at a stall for a really long time, and you're not going to move past like certain arguments or situations or something didn't happen. There's times that we leave events and Juan's like, did you really just tell her that? I was like, well, I didn't mean to. And he was like, for future reference, let's not do that. And I'm like, all right, we'll move on. And we move on. Before it used to be like we would stay stuck on that conversation. I would have to explain myself why I said it, and he'd have to be like, "But that just wasn't right," or "that this," or whatever. And we've learned. We had
an argument earlier, not like related to blogging, just like in general. What? Jeff doesn't even remember the arguments that we have. Yeah, and earlier, like I knew it didn't mean for it to come out that way, but like it came out that way, like whatever he said. And it was towards politics, and I was like, how can that word even, like, how can that sentence even come out of your mouth? And I was like, oh, you're just a guy. I need to get over it.
Man, I didn't know it was a roast session.
Oh, sweetie, we're being nice. There's some times where I have got to take a step back and go, okay, Juan, we're letting it go now because we're ganging up on you.
So, what would you say, Juan?
About what I've learned?
Yeah, what would your recommendation or your tip would you say?
I don't know. I think it's tough to
It's
say.
okay. You can dig into me. We'll argue later.
We're here.
No, I think it's tough to say because I think that it's kind of really been a progression. I think for us, like over the years because we've been doing this for the blog, at least the blogging part of it. We've been doing it for 7 years together, and it's been a progression where, I think you were always a creative. I always looked at you as the creative. But I think at the beginning I didn't really appreciate fully like what that meant. I just was like, okay, if I need a big idea, I'll go to her. But I think over the years,
what's your recommendation though? Like, what would you say to people? Like, if you're gonna want to work with your partner, what would you say to like a young couple that said, "This is what we want to do. We want to do what y'all are doing. Should we know?" Well,
I mean, I think you have to know going in that you're gonna have arguments, that it's gonna you're gonna like disagree, and you just have to know that that's like work, like that's work, and it shouldn't be like everything you talk about, it shouldn't be the only thing you talk about. It shouldn't be the only thing that matters.
That kind of take over your life.
It shouldn't take over. So you have to look at it like this is my job, and then when we're done with this, we're still married, and we're still gonna be.
That's something we need to I think we need to work on, because I know when we take each other's pictures, we get on each other's nerves, mainly because we can't read each other's mind. And I have to tell Jeff, I was like, if I were a different photographer that you didn't know, would you have said that to them? Like, if you weren't so comfortable with me, like if you didn't know me, like, would you have said that to me? And sometimes it takes him, because he's like, I don't care. Like, you're still like, this is a situation that's going on. Like, you can't
like when
change
she tells me
that.
I'm like, well, you're not a professional photographer. Yeah. You're my wife, so I can talk to you. But
I do think you have to be mindful. Like, this is work, and outside of work, we're still.
Yeah, there's times that I've actually had to ask Juan to take down some post. I've had to tell him, hey, can you mute that? Can you delete that? Can you take that off? I don't agree with it. Recently, thank you, Camila. She introduced my subject. So recently, he posted my niece's 15. I put it on my personal one. I put it on his on Facebook, and then he uploaded it to YouTube. And I'm like, no, I don't want it to live in the monster of YouTube. I'm totally okay because I can control the settings on Facebook. I can't do the same for YouTube. Right? Because they can pull it, they can grab it, and a lot can be done with it. And we're still in the learning process. And I thought he would have known, but he just kind of went with it. And I told him, can you pull it down from YouTube? And then post itself, I've gone back and read things, and I'm like, I'm not sure what you meant, but I take it differently. I don't care about your audience. You need to care about me. Pull it, and pull it quick.
There are a couple of blog posts that I wanted to post or that I wanted to write about, but then I'm like, wait, like, how does this reflect on Jeff? Because I have to be mindful of his brand as well, and that like our brands like are representations of each other.
I mean, yeah. I think that when you were saying that, I think that made me think like of that. There's definitely part of it is like respect for each other, because I think like there's certain things that you do that I don't. That I'm when you've done them, I'm like, okay, well, I feel like that's not respecting me, or like certain things that I do, like in the video, like you're not respecting what I want for my privacy. So I think that part of it is like learning to like respect, like even if you don't understand what their position is or why they feel that way, like to just say, okay, whatever. Like even if I don't understand or I don't agree, I'm gonna respect your perspective on this.
So I'm gonna be the person here that says we're gonna wrap this up. We're running out of time, and before that happens, what I'd like to do is give Jeff and Ashley an opportunity to tell us where we can find their blogs and if there's anything else they'd like to share.
I'll walk out with the baby so like that they can.
Okay. Hold on a second. Okay.
So you can find me at www.newmominanewer.com and everywhere on social media at newmominanewer.
Okay, and Jeff?
And you guys can follow my blog at Daddy Style Diaries, where I talk about fatherhood, lifestyle, and fashion. And also on social media, you can find me as Daddy Style Diaries. On Twitter, I am, however, as Daddy Style Diary, as well as Snapchat.
And we look forward to having both of you on the show again. And maybe next time I won't stir the pot so much. For everybody else out there, please let us know if you have any opinions, either against anything we discussed, you have a personal experience that refers to any of these topics, or you just want to drop us a line. And that's this week's show.